boats and also create new components.
A huge amount of man hours has gone into this. A huge amount of people have been involved here, from designing to laminating to fitting out to painting to marketing. It's a monster project.
There's a lot of hand finishing at this point. You can see that they've been sticking these titanium surfaces. The rest of the surface is obviously machined to a very fine tolerance, which of course is very, very important for the performance of the foils. They've got a completely new foil system, a completely new control system, new rudders, a new steering system, new deck layout. This is clearly not a conventional sailboat, you know. You've got the twist strip controls on here, you've got an adjustment on here, you've got two buttons here, which is the rudder differential. This is the jib control, so they've got a lot on.
It's a little bit like a fighter pilot flying his jet, basically. The helmsman has to have very good ability to react to the situations and control the boat.
It's just more refined, boats going faster, cooler to sail, cooler to watch.
It's the next stage again. It's faster, a bit more difficult to control.
When you go on the Formula One, it's exactly the same.
These things are dangerous, and there might be some young teams now who just keep their foot on the accelerator, and you can definitely get bit by these boats.
I think the combination of national teams and very, very high-performance boats racing on short courses, close to shore, I think it's an incredible spectacle to watch.
Six countries, 5 events, $1 million up for grabs. At each Grand Prix, the 6 teams all race for points in a fleet race. The winner gets 10 points, 9 for second. Finish last, you get 5 points. Then repeat. 4 more fleet races, up to 50 points up for grabs. The 2 teams with the most points go head-to-head for the final match race. The winner gets glory, fame, and more points. These points all add up to Marseille, where all the teams slug it out for yet more points. We add them all up, and the top 2 are announced. Now it's the final big match race. Winner takes all for $1 million. And the first champions of SailGP.
These are some of the world's best sailors, and the best sailors at sailing this kind of boat at this kind of speed.
I've always wanted to be involved in the highest level of our sport, and this is exactly where I wanted to go.
Yeah, I've been around a bit and done a lot of racing, and it's the next level of sort of competition, I'd say.
You never like leaving an event the way we did.
You're forcing it, you're forcing it.
Yeah, you make a few mistakes and you're right at the back of the fleet. We've gone back and learned a lot, and I think we're ready to go.
You know how much I hate losing.
I've won an Olympic gold medal, but this it's right up there as a career high for me.
It's pretty obvious if we start well, sail well, they won't catch us.
Oh, they're easily beatable. I think they beat us today because we made mistakes. If we both sail around the track without making mistakes, we're going to have a very tight race. It's a very big opportunity for us, and I want to winning the race every time. De faire vraiment le maximum, d'être tranquille, faire le bon geste au bon moment, ok?
Fastest boats racing at the moment, and most of the world's best sailors, so yeah, you can't give an inch to anyone.
To be in the US, racing for the US, is pretty special. Having a hometown crowd to back you and to it gives you just a little extra, and you want to go out and perform well, and you want to represent your country.
If you've been enjoying the exciting event racing, you're in for a real treat in the final, in the match race. It is boat on boat and nation on nation, like a boxing match or a street fight.
Guys, stand by.
We have here USA versus Australia.
They're not going to get to us. Keep going straight.
The objective is not to get to the start line on time, but to get to the start line ahead of the opposition, and if you can, really slow them down so you get the biggest advantage. The wind is coming from the bottom of the screen, which means Australia is the giveaway boat. They are the boat nearest to the wind, so they have to stay clear.
Yeah, he's going to hook us, dude.
Here's a beautiful shot of Ron Kirby steering up towards the Australian.
Good pressure coming here, okay?
He can't hit him, but he can push him all the way to the wind, which he does, and then picks his moment to accelerate.
Nice play.
Beautifully done by the Americans. Off to a great start.
Hi, my name is Tom Burnham. I'm the coach of the United States SailGP team, and we're learning about foiling. The way it works is these foils lift the boats right up out of the water, and the process of how that happens is just like your airplane on a runway. As the hull breaks free of the water, all of that resistance from the drag is taken away. As the boats get faster, they actually create more apparent wind, so more wind across the sails. The cycle just keeps getting better and better. The rich get richer and you keep going faster and faster. As we get some flow going over the wing sail and the other sails, we start to increase speed. And as we're increasing speed, the foils underwater start to work just like an airplane wing on the runway. When we hit the designed takeoff speed, then we can get the boat up on the foils and then really accelerate along the racetrack. We're actually able to reach 50 knots or more, which is almost up to 100 kilometers an hour, so it's pretty impressive.
Got good flow on the wing? Yeah, copy. Happy to turn on.
The power of the sea, the lure of the water, and the urge to go ever faster through it, over it, sailing on a new course, into a new age, a different league. Streamlined creatures, futuristic technology, precisely calibrated, rising out of the water, harnessing the force of nature and invention. The elements optimized, calculated and digitized. Fluid dynamics fused with aerodynamics. So we fly. Lift and velocity, elevation and balance. Push it harder, grind it faster, turn it smoother. Make the leap and back again. Forget the pain hanging on fingertips. Edging in front with a skipper's split-second sixth sense. Amp it up, burn more muscle, more grey matter, more resolve, national pride. Circuits, cities, weather and adversity. Crowds, enemies, battles and banter mean nothing unless it makes it go faster. Redesigned, redefined, recalibrated, reimagined. SailGP.
Witness sports history in the making.
Good recovery.
Watch Rome Kirby and the U.S. team take on the world.
Come sail with us in San Francisco.
Coming up on the wind.
SailGP comes to San Francisco.
Building for tack here, guys.
Intense, high-speed races. 6 rival nations. SailGP, May 4th and 5th. Tickets on sale now at SailGP.com.
No entry, authorised people only. Let's go. We're developing the boats such that they'll be cutting-edge technology. We've got a lot of people working here at Core Builders in New Zealand to rebuild some of the existing boats, create new boats, and also create new components.
A huge amount of man hours has gone into this. A huge amount of people have been involved here, from designing to laminating to fitting out to painting to marketing. It's a monster project.
There's a lot of hand finishing at this point. You can see that they've been sticking these titanium surfaces. The rest of the surface is obviously machined to a very fine tolerance, which of course is very, very important for the performance of the foils. They've got a completely new foil system, a completely new control system, new rudders, a new steering system, new deck layout. This is clearly not a conventional sailboat, you know. You've got the twist strip controls on here, you've got an adjustment on here, you've got 2 buttons here, which is the rudder differential. This is the jib control, so they've got a lot on.
It's a little bit like a fighter pilot flying his jet, basically. The helmsman has to have very good ability to react to the situations and control the boat.
It's just more refined, boats going faster, cooler to sail, cooler to watch.
It's the next stage again. It's faster, a bit more difficult to control.
When you go on the Formula One, it's exactly the same.
These things are dangerous, and there might be some young teams now who just keep their foot on the accelerator, and you can definitely get bit by these boats.
I think the combination of national teams and very, very high-performance boats racing on short courses, close to shore, I think it's an incredible spectacle to watch.
6 countries, 5 events. $1 million up for grabs. At each Grand Prix, the 6 teams all race for points in a fleet race. The winner gets 10 points, 9 for second. Finish last, you get 5 points. Then repeat. 4 more fleet races, up to 50 points up for grabs. The 2 teams with the most points go head-to-head for the final match race. The winner gets glory, fame, and more points. These points all add up to Marseille, where all the teams slug it out for yet more points. We add them all up, and the top 2 are announced. Now it's the final big match race. Winner takes all for $1 million, and the first champions of SailGP.
These are some of the world's best sailors, and the best sailors at sailing this kind of boat at this kind of speed.
I've always wanted to be involved in the highest level of our sport, and this is exactly where I wanted to go.
Yeah, I've been around a bit and done a lot of racing, and it's the next level of sort of competition, I'd say.
You never like leaving an event the way we did.
You're forcing it, you're forcing it.
Yeah, you make a few mistakes and you're right at the back of the fleet. We've gone back and learned a lot, and I think we're ready to go.
You know how much I hate losing. I've won an Olympic gold medal, but this it's right up there as a career high for me. It's pretty obvious if we start well, sail well, they won't catch us.
Oh, they're easily beatable. I think they beat us today because we made mistakes. If we both sail around the track without making mistakes, we're going to have a very tight race.
It's a very big opportunity for us, and I want to winning the race every time.
De faire vraiment le maximum, d'être tranquille, faire le bon geste au bon moment, ok?
Fastest boats racing at the moment, and most of the world's best sailors, so yeah, you can't give an inch to anyone.
To be in the US, racing for the US is pretty special. Having a hometown crowd to back you and to it gives you just a little extra, and you want to go out and perform well, and you want to represent your country.
If you've been enjoying the exciting event racing, you're in for a real treat in the final, in the match race. It is boat on boat and nation on nation, like a boxing match or a street fight.
Guys, stand by.
We have here USA versus Australia.
They're not going to get to us. Keep going straight.
The objective is not to get to the start line on time, but to get to the start line ahead of the opposition, and if you can, really slow them down so you get the biggest advantage. The wind is coming from the bottom of the screen, which means Australia is the giveaway boat. They are the boat nearest to the wind, so they have to stay clear.
Yeah, he's going to hook us, dude.
Here's a beautiful shot of Ron Kirby steering up towards the Australian.
Good pressure coming here, okay?
He can't hit him, but he can push him all the way to the wind, which he does, and then picks his moment to accelerate.
Nice play.
Beautifully done by the Americans. Off to a great start.
Hi, my name is Tom Burnham. I'm the coach of the United States SailGP team, and we're learning about foiling. The way it works is these foils lift the boats right up out of the water, and the process of how that happens is just like your airplane on a runway. As the hull breaks free of the water, all of that resistance from the drag is taken away. As the boats get faster, they actually create more apparent wind, so more wind across the sails. The cycle just keeps getting better and better. The rich get richer and you keep going faster and faster. As we get some flow going over the wing sail and the other sails, we start to increase speed. And as we're increasing speed, the foils underwater start to work just like an airplane wing on the runway. When we hit the designed takeoff speed, then we can get the boat up on the foils and then really accelerate along the racetrack. We're actually able to reach 50 knots or more, which is almost up to 100 kilometers an hour, so it's pretty impressive.
Got good flow on the wing? Yeah, copy. Happy to turn on.
These are some of the world's best sailors, and the best sailors at sailing this kind of boat at this kind of speed.
I've always wanted to be involved in the highest level of our sport, and this is exactly where I wanted to go.
Yeah, I've been around a bit and done a lot of racing, and it's the next level of sort of competition, I'd say.
You never like leaving an event the way we did.
You're forcing it, you're forcing it.
Yeah, you make a few mistakes and you're right at the back of the fleet. We've gone back and learned a lot, and I think we're ready to go.
You know how much I hate losing. I've won an Olympic gold medal, but this it's right up there as a career high for me. It's pretty obvious if we start well, sail well, they won't catch us.
Oh, they're easily beatable. I think they beat us today because we made mistakes. If we both sail around the track without making mistakes, we're going to have a very tight race.
It's a very big opportunity for us, and I want to win the race every time.
De faire vraiment le maximum, d'être tranquille,
faire le bon geste au bon moment, quoi, ok?
Fastest boats racing at the moment, and most of the world's best sailors, so yeah, you can't give an inch to anyone.
To be in the US, racing for the US is pretty special. Having a hometown crowd to back you and to kind of, it gives you just a little extra, and you want to go out and perform well, and you want to represent your country.
Welcome to San Francisco. Based on the amazing action we had on day one, this is what to look for out on the course for day two. After the start, the sailors listen on the radio for all clear over the line. As they approach Mark 1, they are looking ahead, thinking about where they are going to go tactically downwind. They consider what the tide is doing and make sure they take full advantage of it.
But Mark 1, they're behind us. I think they'll struggle to beat us.
Downwind, all the crew are working for maximum boat speed, keeping clear of the other boats and starting to manage their approach for the downwind gate.
Doing 40 knots downwind and having boats coming at you from all directions. It's a new experience.
Now the crews need to decide which mark sets them up for the best sailing back upwind.
Well, I think we had moments of glory and then moments of complete failure.
The crews decide what mode they want to sail the boat in, high and fast or low and slow.
Straight line speed is going to win you these races.
Just like when you approach a roundabout in a car, there are rules in sailing as to who is allowed to cross ahead.
If you make a small mistake, you pay cash.
At the marks, the boat is getting pushed through the power zone. This is the most high-risk manoeuvre on the course because the boat is turned 90 degrees through the wind.
What I can't believe is no one's kept like this.
Sailors ease the wing to get through the power zone and then grind it back on, set up for the next point of sail. Communication is the key. When it is all go, everyone has to be clear on what the next move is. They repeat rounding the marks for the number of laps allocated for the race. Then they head to the finish, the whole time keeping their nerve and keeping in control. Welcome to day two.
Welcome to San Francisco for the second Grand Prix of the 2019 SailGP Series. The atmosphere is building, and I'm joined by some experts who are going to help us unpick all of the last day of racing here in the Bay. We've got the double Olympic bronze medalist, Charlie McKee, stood next to me. Yesterday's racing was an absolute treat, Charlie.
Yeah, for race fans, it's really what you live for, that kind of action and drama, and the conditions are looking similar, so more of the same today.
Well, it looks hopefully like it's going to be more of the same. The drama has already started out on the water, though. Mike Martin is there for us. What's going on, Mike?
Yes, we're out here on the water where Japan is frantically working on their wing. Apparently there's a hydraulic problem. They have the SailGP team and the Team Japan tech team both working on the hydraulic system. We've also heard that Team USA is having a similar problem, hydraulic problem with their wing. Hopefully they get both of these remedied so they'll be out racing soon.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. We've got a slight delay on the start of the racing because of all of those problems. China, USA and Japan all now affected. Charlie, what do you know? You've got the inside line on these, haven't you?
Well, in these gusty conditions, they're working the boat so hard that they had a few technical problems. The tech teams got them back sorted. It sounds like they're all up and ready, good to go.
Okay, so let's take a look at the issue with the Japanese wing. They have what's known as a popper, don't they? Where that hinge or the manifold is on the wing, that forces the wing to change. What happens if they haven't got that mechanism?
Well, they can still, as they go through the turn, it will go over on its own, but without that solid lock to pull it over the other way, they're absolutely committed to the turn once they start turning.
So in essence, it's quite a necessary piece of equipment.
Yes, they would tell you so.
Okay, but much less serious issue for the Chinese.
Yeah, it's one of the screens by which they get their info, like time to boundary, distance to boundary, which are crucial for their decision making, went down. They did a reboot, got it up and going, so all good there.
It seems a little more mysterious, the issue with the USA boat at this stage, though. Just an oil leak on the hydraulics.
They gave it the thumbs up after a pretty quick check. So the problem for all three of them, frankly, is that it throws you off your pre-start routine.
Okay, and the worst case scenario is that they want to be able to limp themselves over the start line, isn't it?
In a worst case scenario, they still need to try to get the points from starting. They're desperate to get every point they can here.
Okay, so you get 6 points. If you cross the start line, you get 6 points for last place, but if you don't start, then it's just 4 points. Let's take a look at the leaderboard after yesterday's 3 races. We can see where everyone stands with just 2 fleet races left to go, and then that toe-to-toe match race. So the top 2 after the last of the fleet races today will go toe-to-toe. Japan, perfect score, 10 points from every race. They showed everyone a clean set of heels. But then it's very close between second and fourth, just 8 points separating Australia, Great Britain and the United States. So it's going to be very, very tight. And that's where the real battle today, isn't it, Charlie?
I think coming into this, based on the performance of Sydney, everyone was expecting to see Australia and Japan in the top 2. The GBR has shown that they are right there, right in the mix to grab that second spot, and the Americans, they're lurking.
Yeah, Ron Kirby's got that boat going very quickly, hasn't he?
They have this quiet confidence. They're building this team from the ground up, and they're feeling pretty good about things.
Okay, we've got the wind starting to fill in now, but it's a thermal effect that brings the wind up in this bay area. The land on the inside starts to heat up, and that sucks this cold air through the Golden Gate behind us, and that creates the slot, this stretch of water in front of us that, like a mechanical clockwork procession, just pulls the wind up and then it flies through. But the tide plays a crucial part in this equation, doesn't it, Charlie?
It does, and what we saw yesterday was this, the tide favored going one direction, but sometimes the wind favored going the other direction. And especially in the first race where the wind was more inconsistent, they had a very difficult choice after they came through that first gate. The Brits went out to the unfavored tide side, but found more wind and crushed it.
Okay, well, the tide is definitely going to play its part. It's flooding through the gate this morning, so we've got flatter water, but the wind is going to fill, and then the tide goes slack and will just start to ebb at the end. So conditions can change, and there's been a huge snow season in the Sierra Mountains just behind us here, and that means that there's a lot of cold, freezing melt runoff water coming into the bay, and that also can change conditions. What do you think in terms of wind, though, Charlie? I'm going to put you on the spot. You know these conditions here. You know what it's capable of. If the wind gets up, it could get very, very loose here, couldn't it?
Yeah, they're in the back of their mind is always, okay, it's moderate now, but it's San Francisco Bay, and we know it's going to build. And we know when that ebb starts coming that, especially in the bottom half of the course, it gets bumpy. It's like going through the mogul field and, catch one edge, and we saw it happen yesterday.
Okay. What we have seen, though, is the skippers starting to get very, very comfortable in the boats, and the teams as well. And that means we're seeing the personalities come out, doesn't it? We're seeing some great, great racing.
Yeah, the racing was very impressive yesterday. It's interesting, normally on a fairly strong wind day like that yesterday, you'd come in and you'd see the teams, and some would be dejected and some would feel good, and there was a bit of that, but most all of them felt like we got through that pretty well, and we are learning those boats quickly.
Okay, it's time to head over to our commentators now, Jody Shields and Shirley Robertson.
Well, the breeze is already in, and we're in for a good day on San Francisco Bay. It's blowing from 250, which is slightly to the left of the bridge, all the way over the course, but you can see it's quite puffy on that left-hand side. We've also got current coming in under the bridge, and that will be for all the racing, which will make the water flatter, which will mean that the boats are faster. We're in for a full-on foiling day.
It's day 2 here in San Francisco for SailGP race number 4. My name is Jody Shields and I am joined in commentary by 2-time Olympic gold medalist Shirley Robertson. Shirley, welcome.
Jody, what a day we have in store. The world's fastest race boats and the quickest tactical minds, and the pressure mounting as we look to crown the King of the Bay.
There's already been high drama with some boats having some issues, and the boat crews have done an awesome job getting these boats back on the water, and we have got 17 seconds to go before the start of race number 4, and you'll see Team China is trying to get the leeward end. Team Australia is coming in very hot. Has he nailed his time on distance here, Shirley?
Well, he's going fast, Jody, and we saw that yesterday. It was all about hitting that line at maximum speed, and he won that battle.
And Tom Slingsby certainly was quite cranky that Nathan Outridge and the Japan team won all 3 races yesterday, and he's came out today and showed him he is in here for business. So Team Australia on their way towards the first mark. Just trying to hold up Team France there a bit. Team USA's also had a fairly good start. Team France, not so good yesterday, but they're back in the mix today.
Aussies much happier today. They have a new rudder. They've been complaining about that all day, and yesterday had a broken wing. But all good to challenge for that top spot today in San Francisco.
And it's going to be the local boat, Team USA, leading into the first mark. And this is where the high speeds start coming in. The boats go screaming down in front of the crowds. 40-odd knots of boat speed, and they are just on their way now towards the boundary line where they're going to do the first jibe. This is where it gets critical. They have to nail this first jibe. They also have to watch out for the start-finish line there, like Team France had to go over the top of.
The British have done well here. You say that they've got lower, which means they have more options. They can jibe when they want to. They've sailed well from that top mark.
Very close cross there for Team France and Team America. Team France did not get their jibe done too good, and that could cost them a little bit in this setup towards the bottom end of the mark. But it looks like now everybody is on the port jibe on their way down. And we're just on the replay for the start. You see Team China here holding up France. Very, very close. Team Australia going up underneath Team China as well. So all boats within a metre or so of each other, doing around about 30-odd knots. So that is pretty amazing. And Team Japan copped the penalty out of that. So it is back into the live racing. And it is USA still leading by Great Britain. Team Australia are coming in pretty hot there, Shirley. This is looking pretty good for a setup.
I spoke to the American coach this morning. They're really pleased with the improvement from Sydney. I asked what they were going to do differently today. It's like more of the same, just more attention to detail.
Beautiful shots here of the onboard as the guys go through the jibe. We're just going back out now. Right on the ley line, all boats. Australia have jibed on the inside. Will that be a pivotal moment here? Can Team Australia roll over the top of the USA? Looks like he's done a great job there, Australia. And have a look who's coming back into play. Team Japan, Great Britain are in there. This is all on this race. Team USA led at the first mark, also leading at the bottom. Oh, Team Australia, massive big round up there. Team Great Britain must have watched them because they've done exactly the same and just slid around that mark, and they're going to fall down off the foil. So not sure what's going on there with these boats at that bottom mark, but that looked pretty loose.
Conditions still really puffy. You can see that from the aerial shot. It's overcast, the thermal breeze hasn't quite developed, and there's big holes on that left side.
It looks like now Team Australia have got the lead back off USA, so that nice little loose rounding of Rome and the boys on the USA boat have certainly cost them. Japan coming in from the right-hand side now have got themselves back into the mix. They're one of the ones that had the technical issue with the wing not being able to pop. They didn't have much time to practice being out the bay, so I think they need practice. They've got that thing going pretty good. Great shot there of Australia and Team USA just coming through pretty well, about a third of the way down this, or up this work at this stage.
Aussie's sailing fast. I mean, Tom thinks that, you know, his boat's different today. It's a new boat. He's much happier, and he told me he was going to push. They were going to sail higher than they had been before, that they had to do something to match the pace of the Japanese.
And when you say they're pushing higher, we've got a whole new control system here with these boats. It's a new flight system, so the flight control is basically controlling the height and the pitch of the boat for about 99% of the time, so it's a massive amount of coordination. You'll see there Tom Slingsby has not got his hands on the twist grips. It's all about Jason Waterhouse flying these boats.
But interesting, Jody, the boat on his hip, the American boat, they are running the old system. Ron Kirby is flying his boat except for in the manoeuvres. They didn't want to change too much, which frees up Taylor Canfield, the flight controller, to be a tactician, to look around and to make decisions. And today it's working for them.
It certainly is working for them at this stage. Beautiful shot of both boats going through a simultaneous tack there. On board now with Team USA. Just going to go on board and listen to what the guys have got to say here. And you can hear there's the grinding of the winch. So the wing trimmer, is in and out all the time with the rope, and the guys on the pedestals are just whining all day, and that's what that grinding noise is. Team GBR's done a nice little tack here over on the right-hand side. If they can come out of that pretty good, that's going to set them up for this top part of the course quite nicely.
I mean, the British, one of the standout performances yesterday, the most improved from the last event. You know, they are fired up to make that final, and this is what today is all about, is getting into that final race in first or second.
They look quite nice there in the middle of the course with about 250 metres to go. Team Australia and USA are way over off the Yacht Club side of the course. The Great Britain look really good, Shirley. I think, I don't think, I know, they are now in the lead.
To me, it looks a risk. At the top of the course there, it's lighter often and puffier, and Great Britain have capitalised on that.
They've got to make sure they nail this tack, because there's a couple of hungry boats in Australia and USA coming over here pretty quick. Team Japan also coming back in from the left-hand side of your screen. So we'll see a split here in the top of the course. Australia having to duck in behind Japan there, because Japan has all the rights of way, being a starboard boat. Team Australia are going to the left-hand mark at the top as we are looking at it, and Japan are heading into the shore.
Impressive comeback by the Japanese. They didn't have any warm-up time. A boat full of tacticians, and they right back in the game.
And that shot there shows that the breeze looks like it might be a bit puffy here and a little bit of increase. So we should see some nice high speeds and maybe some cool action on the way down here. Stay nice on Team Japan. They're going all the way towards the Yacht Club, right in front of all the spectators, and they'll be setting themselves up for a jibe soon. A little bit loose on the right height there, but they've got to be close to a jibe. But look at they've got a great little shot down that shore. If they can come out of there, they might have pulled some spots.
Look at the pace of the Japanese. They have found some pressure along that shore.
And here they go through the jibe. These are all the critical moments. If they get the jibe wrong, they just lose so many points. Positions, time, the whole distance thing is just lost. Great on shot here with Team Japan. You see the skipper, Nathan Outridge, just looking at his options. He can do that. He's actually flying the boat. You look at his right hand, you see him twist the twist grip on the wheel. That means he's in control of the boat. And that's probably why, because they had to go up and around the back of Team Australia, and that gets pretty sketchy, that sort of a manoeuvre. So the helmsman needs to make sure that he's in control.
Tom Slingsby and his Australian team, they just look different today, don't they? They can get out of trouble. It looks like they have mode. They have confidence in their machine, and he is fully pumped to challenge to get into that final race today.
But it is the great British team leading into the mark for the bottom mark for the second time, and a nice shot there of them coming around the right-hand gate. So they're going to go back out to the middle of the course. Team Australia coming into second. Japan are now into third. So USA have lost out a little bit there in distance. Japan heading into the beach. Australia and USA all going out. So obviously those three boats, Shirley, have found or seen something out wide that they like.
I asked Chris Draper this morning, the wing trimmer, what their strategy was today, and he said, we're going to let Dylan just lead with his intuition to make his own decisions and use his own flair.
That shot there looks like Japan is in front, but I'm pretty confident in saying that Great Britain are still smoking this race. This will be a big confidence boost for this team if they can get a win. They've only got to get up to the last mark and then into the finish, and that's going to put some valuable points on the leaderboard for them, that's for sure. You see the cross here with Great Britain and Japan. It's around about 50 metres difference. Japan might have done a nice job. They can cross Australia fairly comfortably here. So Japan into second spot. Oh, that's a nice close cross. These guys are converging at around about 75 to 80 knots. It is out of control that these blokes can get these boats so close without any major drama.
Just imagine what that's like in your car. It's scary in a car, never mind on a boat.
And we're just seeing a Team Japan attacking over there. But Great Britain, I think they've pulled a little bit more distance out here. They've got that thing wound up. We've got about probably 600 metres of the work left to go before they get up to the turn mark. Not long.
Jodie, flatter water at the moment. So we've talked a lot about how hard it is to fly high in the waves, but a lot more straightforward today. And you can see all the platforms a lot more stable than perhaps we saw at the end of yesterday.
And it's all about the coordination. The flight controller needs to be in sync with the wing trim, and the wing trimmer needs to be in sync with the helmsman. If one of them get it wrong, that's when we start seeing the boats out of control.
Oh, Chris Draper on the lead boat here in GBR, he said, we just have to give Dylan a stable platform and let him make decisions. And that's exactly what it looks like they're doing.
And he's making some pretty good decisions at this stage because he is leading, and it looks like they're setting up for possibly their final tack into the last mark. Awesome shot there of the tack. That is sensational.
You can hear him getting feedback all the time on the other boats. They're like, Nathan's done a good tack.
And the Aussie team, the Australians, are coming back into it. This is getting close. This is getting very, very close. The Australians still have to do another tack, so they're going to lose a bit of distance there. Japan still have to do another tack. They're going to lose a little bit of distance. Has Great Britain got the lay line? And we're just about to see whether they have. It looks like they're on a tight lay to me.
You know, they might be doing 40 knots, but it's still a tactical boat race, and I've been so impressed by that. It's still about making the right decisions at the right time and executing it.
And it is the team from Great Britain leading into the final mark for the first time and on their way into the finish. So unless something really, really bad happens, it's going to be a win, and a very well-deserved win, I must say, to the team from Great Britain. Have a go at the race for second. Great Britain over the line first, but Team Japan is holding up Australia. We need to... Coming in, can this be? Oh, Australia just put the bow in massive, and it's Japan in through for second, and Australia just lost out there in for third spot. That was amazing. Drifting over the line is Team Australia. Oh my God, that was some pretty intense final racing there. Here we are, we're on the onboard coming into this finish. Oh, and Australia just buried the bow. You see everybody gets thrown over the front. The bow gets, the hull gets full of water. Look at this, bang, in they go. And that is gonna hurt. That's not good. Team USA coming over for fourth. Wow, Shirley, what about that finish?
You know, That rivalry between Nathan Outridge and Tom Slingsby goes back to they were 7 years old. It's been 25 years they've been racing against each other. And Nathan just wasn't going to give him an inch, wasn't going to let him in there. And wow, what a finish.
What a finish indeed. But congrats to the team from Great Britain. Dylan Fletcher and his crew would be stoked right now. They'd be happy as.
Nobody looks happier than Stuart Bithell, the flight controller, just turning around now to speak to his show crew and his coach. A massive grin. Their first win of this series, and one might suspect the first of many.
I'm with you there, Shirley. We're just going to follow the last couple of boats in. Team France haven't had the best of regattas, or neither has Team China. There's a few issues there with their flight controls and stuff, so they're all getting the grips on how to use these things.
Well, Dylan, what a race and what a boat full of big smiles. Your first win of the series. It's a good moment. Chris Draper said to me this morning that you had to supply you with a stable platform and they'd rely on your intuition to make all the decisions. How was it working on board? And yeah, how was that?
Yeah, I mean, Chris has done such an amazing job, you know, given, you know, especially me and Stu, not so experienced, and he's just put a lot of trust and faith in us, and yeah, just went with my gut, and it was, yeah, close race, but so stoked.
Dylan, going into the final race on equal points with the Aussies. What's the plan?
I mean, I think the plan's the same as that one, just, you know, another solid race, sail how we can, and get into that match race, hopefully.
If we'd said to you at the beginning of this series that in the second event you would be duking it out to get in the final, what would you have said?
I mean, I wouldn't believe you at all. I think it's incredible how far the team has come, and yeah, it's fantastic to be racing against, you know, these more experienced boats, and so happy with it all.
Well, the sailing world's been impressed with your progress. Best of luck for the next race. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, what an exciting race and what an impressive last race from this team. The young helmsman, Dylan Fletcher, really making his mark amongst this quality fleet. But the pressure is on. Who is going to get into that all-important final?
What an opening fleet race of the day. You almost want to start at the end there, but I think the key thing to pick up on straight away, Charlie, is the comment that Dylan made there when Shirley was talking to him in the boat. He said he's really impressed at how the crew have come on and that he wouldn't have believed they could be in this position. And it goes back to something that Nathan Outridge said. He's been working on these boats and in these boats for years to get the level of proficiency his team have. And he can't believe how well Great Britain are doing at the moment.
Well, they had a great lead-up practice week. I think their confidence was building. They had a great day yesterday. They had a few mistakes that, you know, stopped them from winning races, but they really brought that momentum forward and methodically sailed to the front here. And you have to say a lot about their tactics there too. On that upwind leg, they found more wind outside again and sailed through into the lead.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. We can take a look at the start. Very different tactics from Japan here as we see the boats approaching the line. Yesterday we saw Nathan Outridge slingshotting from the back of the pack. Instead, this time though, it was the Australian, Tom Slingsby, who came from the back of the pack and hit the line with the best boat speed.
And the wind was, you could tell the wind was more unstable at the start, and it was more of a risk to start down low there. The boats that started down low ended up having less wind. The first gust came from above, and the boats at the top just shot off at 35 knots.
But it was the Americans who round this first mark for in first position. And the crowd here, the roar from the seawall was huge, wasn't it?
You know, we've been talking about the young American team and how they're slowly building, but they were determined. They've been a little timid on the starting line, and they were determined today to come out and show that, you know, they have the judgment, they have the time and distance, they can get it up on the foils. They said they were going to ride a little higher today and let it go, and, you know, they showed that.
Okay, it lasted until the bottom mark, and then we saw Australia come through, but then it was GB with a fantastic upwind leg here. You can see in the background, you've got Tom Slingsby trying to cover Rowan Kirby off on the outside of the course, and that inadvertently opened the door for the British team, didn't it?
We said this yesterday, they're going very fast and they don't have much time to decide, but it's still sailboat racing. You have to have the right tactics, you have to tack and jibe in the right places, and there was big gains and losses there.
Well, what it showed more than anything, you can't focus on covering one person. There's 6 boats out there, and if you get too drawn into one battle, you can lose that war for the mark.
Absolutely, that's exactly what happened, and I think that what can you say about that at the finish there?
We've got Tom Slingsby going for that gap, and Nathan Outridge tries to push him upwind, slow him down, and it worked, didn't it?
It did. I think that for Slingsby, it was a nothing to lose. He rounds right behind him. They're flying in towards the crowd at the finish line here, and he's like, I could just throttle back and, you know, take my position, or I could try to roll over the top, but there's no way he's going to give it up to me easily. And sure enough, Nathan pushed him high and made him have to do a strong barroway right at the finish.
Well, the first race of the day has once again delivered in some style. No shortage of drama. So after the first race of today, that is the 4th fleet race, these are the standings. Well, that's Great Britain with 10 points from the first race, Japan in 2nd, and critically Australia in 3rd. United States in 4th place there, China once again bringing up the rear. Disappointing times for Phil Robertson. We can talk about China's performances here because fundamentally, it was a big near capsize in training. Seems to have taken all of Phil Robertson's confidence in the boat. We saw some great performances from them in Australia. He's barely registered above 5th place here in San Francisco.
I think that's right. I think something like that, some near disaster does sort of shake your confidence a bit. And they came into Sydney very aggressive, street fighting match racer, but these machines will humble you. And I think that they're gonna sort of have to build their confidence back up from stage 1.
Okay, well, the first race is under our belts. We're preparing for the 2nd fleet race, and the big focus is going to be on the battle between GB and USA as they vie for that 2nd spot in the match racing final. We can head out onto the water now where Mike Martin is. Mike, interesting combination of wind and tide at the moment. What's going on and what can we expect?
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's definitely big puffs and big lulls on shore. It's steadier outside, but a little lighter overall. So I think there's big gains to be made if you hit the shifts right. Also on the outside, we've got a very strong flood tide and a weaker flood tide inside. There's a big streak running down the middle of the course, separating these 2 tides.
Thank you very much, Mike. Good to know. So Australia and Great Britain is going to be the big fight within the fleet itself. 6 boats out on the water, but whoever places higher out of those 2 boats will claim the spot in the match race.
They're going to pay very close attention to their pre-start positioning and which side of the other do they want to be on. And they know that that has to be their absolute focus, is try to get ahead of their rival and try to get that second spot.
Okay, it's time to go back out onto the water for the 5th and final fleet race with Shirley Robertson and Jodie Shields.
We are coming in to race number 5, and this is going to be something special. 2 boats on the same points, all fighting it out for a place in the final. Who would have thought? We are on now again for race 5. I am once again joined in commentary with dual Olympic gold medalist Shirley Robertson. Shirley, welcome back.
They're keeping us on the edge of our seats, aren't they? It could not be more exciting going into this race. It could not be more exciting going into this race, Jodie. Almost a who beats who between Australia and GBR for that second place in the final. It's going to be all on.
Whoever the scriptwriter is in SailGP has done an absolute cracking job with this one, because we have got a mini match race before the actual match race. So you'll find that Australia and Great Britain can pretty much sail themselves to whatever they want to do, because whoever wins out of those two, it's all about getting in that final. And at this stage, Australia are looking pretty comfortable because they have got a little bit of a lead on Great Britain, so they might have held him out the back of the box there. Remember, all they've got to do is beat each other. Whoever wins out of them pair, get into the final. It's game on.
Tom Slingsby, massive amount of America's Cup match racing knowledge and practice, and it looks like he's done a bit of a job on the young British team.
But there is still a race in the race here, and it is Team America, the United States of America, leading in to this first mark. They've got the French just above them. Awesome shot there of USA and France smoking in to the mark for the first time in this race. Got Japan in 3rd, China in 4th, Australia in 5th, and Great Britain are currently in a last position. Beautiful drone shot there of the United States and France now going in, trying to set themselves up. This is where they've got to get the first thing, we say it every time, go down along the shore, set yourself up for that first jibe, Shirley.
Beautiful start by the Americans, beautiful start.
France just at the most unopportune time put the bow in the water, and that sort of thing's been costing them all weekend. They've got themselves into 2nd position. They just need to be a little bit calmer and sail the boat the way that they know that they can do.
But Jodie, this is where the race is. At the back of the fleet between Australia and Great Britain. What can the young Dylan Fletcher do?
Well, at this stage, all he can do is follow, because it looks like everybody wants to go right close to the shore to give the spectators the best of the view. All boats now setting up for a jibe. Absolutely cracking shot there of 4, 5, 6 boats going through their jibe manoeuvres. Great jibe by Great Britain.
Well executed under a whole mountain of pressure.
And it looks like Team Australia have gone very, very close to that boundary there, so that could come into play. We'll have to keep an eye on that. On board now with Team Australia.
China relative to Australia.
And we're just hearing that there could be a little bit of an issue between the Chinese and the Australians, so we'll wait to hear confirmation, but we're on board with Australia. Just jacking out now to Team America. USA smoking into the bottom gate here, leading for the first time. Rome Kirby would be pretty chuffed with that. Japan into 2nd. France lost a place there, so that little jibe could have cost him a bit of a moment. And here's Australia and the Great British team. So that's the race in the race that we need to try and stay focused on a little bit. But we also need to watch these leaders. Team USA going through their tack at the same time as Japan. So the only boat to choose that bottom right, Shirley, was Great Britain. What do you think of that?
I think they've no real choice. They set up for it. But, I mean, good decision in many ways to split from the Aussies.
Well, you can't catch him if you're following him, so they say. So he has to go and try something, because they know all they've got to do is beat him over the line.
The gains in the previous race was getting separation from the fleet. And he may well have done just that.
He may well have, but the team from Australia, they've come over to this right-hand side. So here is the cross that we're all interested in. Great Britain look fantastic on that left-hand shore. They've come off there looking very, very sharp indeed.
It's hard to match race when there's a whole heap of traffic. Not easy.
And as you said that, you've picked it in one. They've had to duck under France, and that's cost them the position to Team Australia. So here we go, Australia back in front of Great Britain.
Close though, isn't it? I mean, less than a boat length between them. It's all going to be about how they line up for that top mark.
So we've got Japan coming in off the left. They're currently leading the race. We've got USA into second, maybe coming into third off that graphic. We're going to stick on board here with Ryan Kirby and his crew on Team USA. Very young crew, but they're getting these boats sorted out pretty quickly, as are all of them.
It's amazing how quickly they're learning how to do this. Nathan was saying that it took him months and months to have confidence to sail boats like this. And Dylan Fletcher's been doing it, you know, for a matter of weeks, and he's taken it on.
It looks like there might be a little left-hand shift coming up here because the boats are going straight up the course from that left-hand stride. Australia is going way over, as they did yesterday. They did something very, very similar. Went right over on the rocks, tacked in, and will they get advantage? Remember, Tom Slingsby has sailed this waters for a long, long time from the previous America's Cup. So is a little bit of local knowledge we're about to find out, because the cross between Australia and Great Britain is soon to come up.
It looks close, Jodie.
It looks very close. We are all just waiting. Australia have got a nice little bit of a left-hand breeze, and it looks like, no, they're going to duck him. So they didn't think they could get through, so it's advantage of Great Britain. The thing we've got to look at now is the whole setup of the course. Australia are going to come over, one more tack. Great Britain possibly might have to do two tacks. That could be the Costa. Australia still heading over. Great Britain going all the way over to the left-hand side. So we're hearing Tom Slingsby saying a one and in. So he's comfortable to go all the way over to the outside of the course to set himself up for the top.
Manoeuvres are costly, Jodie. Manoeuvres are really costly. So if you can work out your strategy on the race course to do less, it's all good.
And you've just seen there, Great Britain had to duck another boat. That's the last thing they'd be wanting to do, is just keep losing time from all the other boats. They just wish that all the other boats would disappear off the course so they could just try and catch Australia. On the replay here of the Great British team, coming through and up and in the foil, and you see him a big manoeuvre there to put the bow around to try and get around the back of America. So that there would have been pretty hairy on board, that's for sure. And you see Great Britain and Australia coming in towards the top marks. And this is the race. USA need to get out of the road, because these two boys want to have a ding-dong battle, and it's all Tom Slingsby and his crew at the moment are leading the Great British team to the top mark. Rome Kirby and his crew have gone to the left, so have the Japanese, but Great Britain and Australia are following each other down to that
Beautiful manoeuvre by the Australian team. They're also slightly faster. I've been keeping an eye on the numbers. They're always like 41. And when I spoke to Tom, he said, we're going to sail high, we're going to sail fast, and we're going to take risks.
Well,
just got the edge.
They've got a little bit of a speed edge at the moment, and as we've seen all regatta, speed is the king on these amazing F50s. The numbers they are reaching in only about 10 to 15 knots of breeze is incredible. Got a bow shot there of Great Britain just going back to the overhead, and it shows Australia 34.5. Great Britain are pretty much matching them there, Shirley.
It's not over. This is very close. This battle's going to go all the way to the end.
Just let's hope that as far as this race is concerned, Great Britain don't have to duck any more boats, because they've had to duck two so far.
And remember, we've seen in the other races, one tiny mistake will cost you easily 500 metres.
going to see they're just about to set up now, Australia, for their jibe. Great Britain are going through theirs at the same time. Beautiful jibe by Great Britain. Australia not as smooth. They lost the bow a little bit down. The leeward bow just skimmed on the water there. But Great Britain are coming in hard. Have a look at the spray coming off the boat there. Those things are motoring in. Up they go. So this is now when the flight controller has to completely dial in to just keeping that boat level.
Jason Waterhouse, of course, silver medal in Rio and shining here in San Francisco.
And just on board with the Aussies there, going through their jibe, and they've got a little bit on there, coming into this gate nice and hot. Looks like they might set themselves up for that right-hand gate as we are looking at it now, and head back out to the shore to, like you said before, Shirley, minimise attacks. Look who's coming back into play. Japanese, United States, Great Britain once again. Can they get in? Oh, I'm not sure. I think USA might have just got in the zone there, but Great Britain were clear since they were around the outside, so that could have been a moment there for the Great British team.
The rule at that zone is whoever gets in first has the rights to go round, whether it's the top mark or the bottom mark.
So it was a very, very touch and go decision. Good decision there by Dylan not to force the issue, because that could have cost him a little bit of time. He's looking at the big picture. He's not worried about winning the little battles. He just wants to beat these guys on the screen in the Australian team. Going through
He's running out of options. What can he do here? I mean, the Australians are sailing really well, really cleanly.
British penalty. Well, that is gonna hurt them massive. They have to lose one boat length relative to the boat that they've done the penalty to, and that was USA. So that is going to just crucify Team Great Britain's chances. In the meanwhile, Team Australia are just going to go on board with GBR to see how they went through this thing here.
They cannot afford these unforced errors.
Yeah, that's costly. That is massively costly in the grand scheme of things. That one Mark Random, which we thought he might have got away with, is going to actually cost him possibly a place into this final. That is devastating. So look how much distance they've lost, Shirley. That is amazing.
And look at the pace of this team. Just always just 1 or 2 knots ahead. They are flying high. They're taking risks. Tom Slingsby's getting ready for the final.
And we're on board now with the Great British team. So all they can do is go all the way over to the left-hand side of the course where Australia is. So they've, like you said, they've absolutely ran out of options. Australia are just left them for dead. And now all they have to do, come off that shore, one more tack into the next mark, and then go into the finish for a place into the final.
In this scenario, Tom Slingsby is a mighty competitor. He's spent 2 America's Cup practicing this kind of sailing day in, day out, and he's hungry to win here in San Francisco. It's a tough call for the British.
The Red Mist is definitely on board with Tommy. He was not happy with getting beaten by his mate, Nathan Outridge, yesterday, and he said he was going to come out and have a go today. So that's exactly what he's doing. And there they are, just about to go around for their final tack and then head in for a place in this final match race with Team Japan. Still haven't seen where the Great British team is, but it's all Australia, just cruising in now. They would be some very happy sailors on that Team Australia right now.
Well, they're pretty happy, Jodie. They delivered when they had to under pressure, and that is the sign of a real class act.
Absolutely there, Shirley, and Great Britain are just coming over the line now. would be hating life right now. That little penalty has just cost them massive.
I guess, Jodie, when they reflect on that race, they were outsailed to some extent by the Aussies. The Aussies, you know, beat them to the start, largely controlled them, and just waited for them to make mistakes and capitalized on that. But a massive effort by the British team, and you know, they won't be that disappointed to come away from here with a third.
No, third is normally pretty good, but you'd love to be in for that match race final. That is for sure.
Their goal, the British goal, was to be competitive by the time they got to Marseille.
Well, they're definitely that. They're competitive into San Francisco, so they're 3 rounds ahead of themselves. So
they're ahead of schedule.
Hats off to those boys. So it is set up again for the Australians versus the Japanese into the final race of this San Francisco round, and that is something that is amazing.
Yes. Different game now, Jodie. Match racing, one-on-one. A whole different mindset.
Who do you put your money on? Slingsby or Outreach?
You know, all through training and yesterday, the Japanese were unstoppable. The fastest boat out here. But look who's turning it on when it matters. Tom Slingsby, never write him off. They are on fire.
Wow, what a race for the Australians. It's been a very difficult training, and then things didn't go their way yesterday. But when it counts, when he needed to, Tom Slingsby delivers. Charlie, that was an incredible bit of sailing by the Australian.
It was, you know, we said going into that race, it's going to be a match race between them and GBR, and somehow Slingsby got them pushed back and, you know, started second to last and then sailed all the way through the fleet to win the race.
He pinned the Australian boat, pinned the British boat in the back of the box, didn't he? And just, we saw from the very off that he didn't care what the rest of the fleet were doing. Slingsby just wanted to sit on top of the GB SailGP team.
He got what he wanted, and off go the leaders. But then from there, it was such a tricky tactical race. He worked his way through, finding the best breeze, finding the puffs, and keeping the boat high on the foils, and sailing through that whole fleet to end up winning comfortably. As he deserves to be in the final.
Okay, we can hear from Tom Slingsby now on board the Australian boat.
Delivered when you had to in the most amazing style. How happy are you on that green and gold boat?
Yeah, we're really happy. It's taken us a little while to get performing, but that race we started back. We planned on sort of attacking the British, so we made the match race final, and then we sailed through the fleet. So I think we show what we can do. We just got to do it a bit more often.
You've been worried about your boat all week, but you were confident today that things would be different. How confident are you going into this final?
It's going to be tough. It's a real boat handling off. It's windy here. The gusts are really sort of dense and dark, and when you get hit by them, they can really do some damage. So we got to just keep clean, and I'm confident in the match race against Team Japan. We just got to make sure we sail well.
Just very quickly, let's talk about the rivalry between you and Nathan Outridge. It's been going on a long time. How crucial is it that you win this?
Oh, it's everything right now. I can't think of anything more important than what we've got going on right now. We want to win this race, and yeah, we'll be aggressive, and we'll try to take it off him.
Well, we can't wait. Have a good one. Thanks for your time.
No problem.
Well, a bit of match racing practice for Tom Slingsby there ahead of the match race itself. Fleet Race 5, we can go back and take a look at the start line, because that's what we said. It was won and lost at least the beginning stage of the race in the start box, wasn't it? Almost a minute before the start line.
They got underneath him, they held him back, and you can see here by the time they get to 15 seconds to go, they are late, and the Australians have a 2-3 boat length advantage and are right on top of them. So there's literally nowhere for GBR to go from there.
You got to say as well, Rome Kirby deserves a bit of credit for getting that USA boat over the line in first place again. So the Australians tucked in behind they're sat on top of the British, but then on the upwind leg, Dylan Fletcher has been going very, very well. It's looking like the British have been out, but it's looking like a very, very strong start for the Australians going up against the Japanese. A great final fleet race here in San Francisco. So we can take a look at the leaderboard from that 5th race. And the points look like this. Overall, the Japanese will sit on top of the standings, 46 points. That Australian win in the last race takes them on to 44. Great Britain agonisingly 1 point behind them. The United States 6 points off the pace in 4th. So Japan versus Australia. Which side are you going to fall? Obviously, Japan, Nathan Outridge is first into the box. Who do you think is going to take this?
Well, look, the one way to look at this is, do you go on the form for the week? The Japanese team has just been crushing it all week. They've looked the most solid. They've been the best at every aspect of it. Starting, boat speed, especially downwind boat speed, boat handling. But the momentum right now is squarely back on the shoulders of the Australians. And is 15 minutes enough time to shake off the disappointment and go, we're going to get our mojo back?
Okay, we will find out very shortly. But Tom Slingsby won 5 of the 6 races in Sydney. It's been far from plain sailing here in San Francisco. But has he peaked at the right time? Let's get to know him a little bit better.
Sydney was a light wind event and we were dominant in the light air. Here we're in San Francisco, it's strong winds, big waves, and our light air techniques don't necessarily work. Foiling catamarans are extremely dangerous. San Francisco is a place that really brings it out. What happened was we were setting up for a jibe. I got a little bit too high on my ride height, and what that did was it steered us up into what we call the power zone. That's basically 90 degrees to the wind, and that's where you get the most pressure on the sails. And fortunately, I got steerage again. If that happened half a second later, we would have capsized for sure. I think that is the scariest moment I've ever had in the F50, almost in all the foiling cats I've done.
And I think we're doing 30 knots and they're all 35 knots, so pretty quick towards each other. Luckily, Tommy stopped the turn and went down, and we missed them by betting a foot.
If I turn there, we're going like bows straight through the middle of them. That split-second moment, having to bear away and missing them by, must have been millimetres. That was really, really scary.
This one is going to be epic. All the talk, all the chatter, and we are about to go.
Well, this is exciting.
Training has been pretty exciting. Let's hope the racing can do the same.
Beautiful start by the Japanese.
Team Japan weren't getting away from us ever. Felt like we could actually catch them up if we sailed well, but they're getting ahead of us on the start.
Australia a little bit down on their boat speed, which might have opened the door for Team Japan.
If they're behind us, I think they'll struggle to beat us.
They could have a technical problem here, Australia.
Unfortunately, we broke our wing in race 1, so we were unable to control twist. It didn't slow us down too much, it just meant we couldn't mode the boat.
3 wins from 3 races. That is an amazing effort by Team Japan.
At the end of the day, Team Japan beat us because they're getting better starts on us.
Sorry, boys. That's all right.
It's all still to play for in San Francisco.
Wow, he is a very, very impressive sailor, especially when you know they did the first 3 fleet races without a fully operational wing, and he has still made it into the match race here against Nathan Outridge. But developments on the water are coming into us now. Charlie, we've heard that the Japanese have an issue with one of their dagger boards. What can you tell us?
Yeah, we're waiting the word on what exactly the technical problem is. If they're not able to make this match race, they're going to be absolutely gutted.
Well, it was a masterclass yesterday for Nathan Outridge. It feels like he's become background noise today, if that's possible. I mean, he probably wasn't too upset about that, but he hasn't dominated in the same way we saw him yesterday.
I think yesterday every aspect of the game, he was a little bit better than everyone else. They pore over the technical data, they have their debriefs, they say what can we do better, and they come back, and we knew he wasn't going to have his way pushing him around today like he did yesterday.
He actually didn't need to tactically either, did he? He'd done all of that hard graft yesterday. He could really start to relax a little bit. But there might be a spanner in the works now as Japan have this locked-in daggerboard. We're going to go out on the water to Mike Martin now and find out what he can tell us about this issue.
Yeah, out here on the water, we can see Team Japan. They were definitely having an issue with their dagger board on the port side. They did some work on it. They took off. It looks like they're now sailing. They've sailed on both jives, and it looks like they're operational. That's the view from the water. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. Good to hear. Not the kind of preparation you want, though, is it, Charlie?
Yeah, but one of the things about Nathan as a leader is he exudes this calm confidence. He's like, all right, boys, we'll get this sorted. And yeah, it wasn't the best, these two races, but like you said, they cruised around the track, and assuming they get their boat sorted out, he's like, let's just go finish this off and take the San Francisco SailGP trophy.
Okay, a repeat of Australia's match race. Australia versus Japan.
Here we go, the final race, the match race, the money race. This is what it's all about. Team Australia versus Japan. Let's get it on.
Smash it, lads.
This is it, the match race for overall victory here in San Francisco for round 2 of SailGP. As always, I'm joined by double Olympic gold medalist Shirley Robertson. Shirley, it's game time.
It's exciting, isn't it? I mean, if you're Nathan Outridge, he looked so relaxed, so confident yesterday, but today they've been plagued by technical issues. They've now no computer on board, they don't know the boundaries, they don't know the time to the start. They're absolutely sailing by the seat of their pants. Let's see if they can do that. Just about to enter here from the port hand side.
So it's all about instinct. They can't rely on the instruments on board. So will that be an advantage to Australia, or will that just play in the hands of the team from Japan? Australia now entering. Just a heads up here between the two skippers. Tom Slingsby, 8 times he's been a world champion. Nathan Outridge, 9 times they've been a world champion. I reckon they'd throw some of them away just to beat each other here today.
I don't know how the Japanese are going to do this. They don't know where the boundaries are. Go over it, you get a penalty. Very hard. They're going to have to play it right in the middle of the course. It's all about, match racing is all about time and distance, time to burn, and they're used to getting this information electronically, and now they're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way.
And the spectators out here on San Francisco Bay in their boats are getting some awesome action. You see we've got an umpire boat right in the middle there. He's got to keep an eye on what these two boats are doing. So this is the game of cat and mouse. Who can get what we call the hook? Who can get underneath and control the other boat? So Tom Slingsby, he'd be pretty good at this, I would think.
If you're the Australian team, you know they're vulnerable. You're just going to wait till they make a mistake and pounce.
And we've got about 40-odd seconds listening into Japan there, and they've got nothing. So all they've got to do is go on instinct. Australia trying to get the hook. Japan coming in to try and block them. You can see the start line in the middle of the screen there. 27 seconds to go. This is getting pretty close. Team Japan are losing a little bit of stability there on the boat. They're just trying to wash off some speed because they don't know how far they are away from that start line, Shirley.
Yeah, but the Aussies know. They have all the tools.
You would think that maybe they got their eyes on the Aussies. If they pull the trigger, Japan will pull the trigger too. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And we are racing for the final race here in San Francisco. I'd call it an even start.
That is an even start. Extraordinary sailing from the Japanese team.
Wow, with no electronics, just instinct, pure instinct had to come into that whole team of Nathan Outridge, Ian Jensen, Luke Parkinson, Leo Takahashi and Yuki Kasastani, all wanting to get the medals after this race. Nice little bit of breeze about to come in. The Australians look like they're going to roll over the top of the Japanese. Can they keep that boat stable? This is where it's all on. 40 knots, probably 5-10 metres apart. Now Japanese can control a little bit here. They can take the Australians all the way to the boundary. Australians cannot do anything until Japan want them to.
Yeah, remember, this is match racing. It's not about doing the course in the fastest time. It's just about doing it faster than the other guy.
And what they've got to try and do is get a penalty on the other guy. If they get a penalty, then the other boat has to go in behind and wash their penalty off. Advantage to Japan. Looks like Japan are going to go into the attack, into their jibe, sorry, because they're coming towards the boundary. Holding him in. Oh, Team Australia, they're just throwing it at Team Japan. Have to react. That could be interesting. Will they press the button there? Slingsby definitely threw a little bit of a fake jibe, I guess, into Japan. And now they're smoking on down along the riverfront or the shorefront there towards this bottom mark. Looks like no penalties have been occurred by other boats. You can see Japan just rolling over the top of Australia, but Australia now starting to pick up speed. Australia has got the advantage.
Tom Slingsby worried about his speed all week in training and yesterday. No worries when it counts in this final race, this one-on-one battle to be the king of the bay.
And here's the race into the boundary, or the zone, sorry, and it's Australia in first. Japan nice and tight. Both boats. Oh, it's very close to contact. That had to be so close. Japan nearly put their bow right through the middle of Australia. Oh my God, that would have been a moment, that's for sure. Looks like they've survived, but what they have done is sat down and let Australia just sail off in the distance and put in quite a big gap. Have a go at how close this is here. Australia just coming in, Japan trying to come down and soak into the mark. You watch it, both boats will turn up, and Japan lose their flight and literally go underneath Australia. How they didn't take their rudder out, I have no idea. Australia very close to a boundary there, so they've got to keep their eye on that sort of thing too. They would hate to lose off that.
That's the risk. If you get too high, you can slip sideways, exactly what Nathan did there.
Yeah, the pressure is on. They know there is no coming back after this race. This is the finals. Different angle of what we just seen before. So we're looking down at Australia. Watch the bow of Japan go up, and literally just how it didn't hit that rudder. Oh my God, that would have been game over for both boats.
The Aussie had to give them room to let them in, and they did that. But yeah, they just flew too high and slipped sideways, the Japanese team.
Wow, you can just see these boats are on the edge sailing, and a little tiny mistake like that has cost Japan quite dearly, because Australia now in control.
A little bit of pace.
You can hear Nathan Outridge there just talking about a little bit of pace setting up for attack. We're on board here with the team from Australia. Tom Slingsby, Kyle Langford, Jason Waterhouse, Sam Newton and Kai Hurst, all wanting to be the winners here in San Francisco as they were in Australia. A little bit of a split there, Shirley. That's quite interesting that Tommy is happy for him to let him go to the right-hand side.
Well, obviously, of course, the Japanese, they haven't got any electronics telling them, you know, the rake numbers or the numbers of the wing. So they're not only winging it on the race course, they're flying blind here.
And that is going to be very, very hard to keep the boat speed going, because if you get your rake wrong, you just lose so much boat speed. So it's coming all down to feel for everything for this team. They've had such a good weekend. Coming into yesterday, won all 3 races. Hydro problem in the first race. Before the first race, the wheels have fallen off the campaign a little bit, but they're still in the final.
The Japanese team have had so much going on their boat. Every time you look at it, there's a technician on board trying to solve a problem. They've got good speed now, though, Jody.
They have indeed. They are coming across, but Team Australia are in the zone and they can get up and go around the top gate. Japan now have to do their tack. So Australia off towards the bottom. Japan now, what options have they got, Shirley? What can they do to try and get back to Australia?
Well, exactly the right thing, Jody. They, you know, splitting sides, get a bit of freedom. Hopefully there's more pressure also on the left-hand side of the screen here, so they may well be able to just get a little bit more pace.
Is this a Hail Mary move, or is it just something you have to do?
I feel for the Japanese, you know, they were so locked in yesterday, and just things today just haven't gone their way. Very hard to sail these really highly technical boats just in the seat of your pants. Very difficult.
Have a go how close the spectators get to see Australia going through their jibe. They are literally 50 metres off the shore, and off that graphic have absolutely bashed the Japanese. 160 odd metres, Australia haven't looked comfortable all weekend. They've just done enough, and it looks like at this stage they're going to be 2 wins from 2 events. Amazing.
Think back to the week of training. They were the boat that nearly capsized. They're complaining about their speed all week. They had no answers to the pace and the consistency of the Japanese. It's a different story now.
At this stage it certainly is, but as we've been saying all week, it only takes one thing to go wrong and this race can be back on. Game on.
Tom Slingsby said to me this morning, if we haven't caught him up, if we haven't caught Nathan up by the end of today, he's going to be peed off.
Well,
Let's see.
I don't think he'd be that cranky at the moment because he is leading into the bottom mark for the final time. Half a work to go, 3/4 of a work to go to get up to the last turner mark, into that gate for the finish for the Chockies. He wants the biscuits. 2 wins from 2. That is pretty dominant in the grand scheme of things, that's for sure.
Japanese struggling to fly here. I mean, I don't know what, they've got all kinds of things going on in their boat.
Well, when you don't know where your main foils are as far as relation to the hulls and all that sort of stuff, they're hard enough to sail the thing when you've got all the information. Imagine how hard it's to sail without it. But they're not giving up. They certainly won't give up. If that team from Japan know anything, it's how to stay in a boat race. And it's 60-odd metres, so they might have made a little bit of a gain there, but that could be just false because of both boats have had attack. Team Australia look pretty good to me.
60 metres in an F50 is not very long.
About a blink of an eye. I've been on it, it's amazing. So what we could see here, Team Japan come right over to the right-hand side and only make one tack and in. Australia recovering. Smart move from the 8-time world champion, Tom Slingsby. Very, very close now, Shirley. It is come back into a race. Ladies and gentlemen, stick where you are. This thing is not over by any stretch. It comes down to this tack. Who can be the best in this tack? Who are you going to back?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's getting closer and closer all the time. Both teams so good at executing when they have to under pressure.
Here we go. Japan setting up for their tack, throwing the boat around. Right on the boundary is Nathan Outridge. Tom Slingsby responded. Looks like Slingsby's done a nice job on his tack. Outridge sat down a little bit, but Slingsby's up and foiling pretty quick. Has that been enough for Tom Slingsby to take this into the top mark and in towards the finish for a well-deserved win here in San Francisco?
We can see the gap growing here. I think there's a little bit of wing wash. Bad air coming off the Aussies onto the Japanese.
And here they go, around the final mark, in towards the massive crowd here in San Francisco for the full glory for round 2 of SailGP. Tom Slingsby, Kyle Langford, Jason Waterhouse, Sam Newton, Kai Hurst, take a bow. You've just won here in San Francisco.
Yes! Yes! Yes, boys! Nice, boys. That's how it's done! Yes! Nice, Frank.
That is quite a moment, Jody.
That is massive. You don't often see that group of guys that emotional. That is pretty special. Jason Waterhouse just doing his best little boogie there. For a dancer, he makes a good sailor, I tell you.
You know, victory is so sweet when you've properly had to work for it. And what a day they've had. What a comeback by this Aussie team. So impressive.
Yep, absolutely no words for that. That was amazing. You have to feel for the Japanese, like you said in the race call. Technical issue after technical issue after technical issue, but they just had to keep going, and they made a race of it. It all come down to that last tack. Listening on board here with the Australian side, they are stoked.
Tom Slingsby, part of the winning team. When Oracle won here in 2013, he knows what it's like to keep the pressure on. He knows that it's never over until it's over. What a victory for Team Australia here in San Francisco Bay.
Yeah, the last two races really well. So, check what we're doing.
Well, big smiles for the Aussie teams, and who can blame them? They win here in San Francisco with 47 points and 1 point behind Team Japan, the fastest boat here for a long time, but today just couldn't keep it together. And in third place, the young British team.
Well, there you have it. Daylight robbery by Tom Slingsby on Nathan Outridge. This morning, we started proceedings, Charlie, thinking that this could quite possibly be a procession for Nathan Outridge, and yet it's all been about Tom Slingsby and the Australians.
Yeah, what a day they had today. You know, they got the momentum early, they kept it, and they pushed it through to win that last race.
We talked to Tom Slingsby, and he's discussed it a little bit. He's not ashamed to say that he gets the red mist, he gets that anger, he gets that rage, but he's used it, hasn't he? All of the frustration from yesterday's racing, he's managed to channel that and produce today's performances.
Yeah, there's a fine line there between rage and controlled, focused intensity, and I think that's what we saw from them today.
First of all, he reeled in the British in that final fleet race, and then you've got to say, to give Nathan Outridge his due on the Japanese boat, that they were sailing without electronics, as we heard from Shirley and Jody there. So it was difficult, but still it was a masterful display.
That race was in doubt. They were locked in from the start. Halfway through leg one, normally you can tell who has won the start by the time you get halfway to mark one there. But there they were still just neck and neck, and you weren't sure. Halfway down the run, they were still right dead even with each other through the jibe, coming into the gate, and then, you know, the big moment there.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the start, because in match racing, that is one of the key parts of the race, and they enter the start box a minute before the race begins. But Nathan Outridge is flying on instinct here. He can't actually see on his electronic data where he's supposed to go, and he's trying to push Nathan Outridge out of the top of the line here, isn't he, Charlie?
So he gets in a good spot there a little bit early. It's how much time to kill. He's underneath them, basically dead even there, and going exactly the same speeds. So if the Australians get one little gust of wind, can push over the top, they'll be in control. but he has the right of way by being inside at this Mark 1, and he just barely hangs on to it. You can see the two boats are just barely overlapped.
It is advantage Japan at this stage, though, as they're holding Australia out to the boundary there.
You see that little bobble there where he wants, Slingsby wants to make Outeridge turn earlier and create a little more separation between them.
And they're neck and neck into this downwind mark, and this was decisive.
So he's got to give the Japanese room to go around. But once they're around there, then the Japanese have to keep clear. And that was a very aggressive move by Slingsby right there.
That's an understatement. That was the controlled rage we were talking about right there.
Absolutely.
And this is, we touched on this earlier on, but this is the wonderful thing about sailing at this level in these boats. We're starting to see personalities come out in the racing.
Yeah, and that's a move where we're going to go at them here, right here, when you're going 5-6 knots in a match race. But they're doing it at 35 knots. I'm going to luff him. I'm going to try to knock him off his foils. And that was the decisive moment.
It was a fantastic final race to wrap up this second Grand Prix here in San Francisco. A breathtaking spectacle. So the Australians, once again, the Australians are in charge here. And it was against the run of play, you've got to say that. But it puts them 95 points on the overall leaderboard in the championship standing. Japan just behind them on 91, Great Britain 79. The United States making up a lot of ground. They sat 6th after Sydney. They're now 4th and only 9 points behind Great Britain. France and China round out the team standings. So 2 events down, we'll move it into the midpoint of the series in New York at the end of June. But you can see here the Australians coming in on their chase boat. The team there, Kyle Langford, Sam Newton, Kai Hurst, Jason Waterhouse and the skipper, Tom Slingsby there. Kyle Langford looking very relaxed on the front of the boat. Tom Slingsby taking his plaudits. Plenty of Australian fans up on the balcony welcoming them in as well. So Jason Waterhouse, I know talking to Tom Slingsby at the start of the week, he described Jason as carrying a glass back this week. He could hear him moaning and wailing every time the boat slammed down, so they've done well to nurse him through some very high winds here in San Francisco. Kai Hurst, the surf life-saving Ironman, and Sam Newton, the big grinders, have been the engine room of those performances. And then the partnership between Kyle Langford and Tom Slingsby at the back of the boat, instrumental in that resurgent performance. So, all of them big boys. There is actually a weight limit on the boats, 437.5 kilos. And I'm pretty sure the Australians are right on the edge of that when they get on board. They're all big units, Charlie.
Yeah, it's a physical sport, and you know, they train hard for this, so that third race of the day they're not worn down. They're still going full wick, and at the end they're running on adrenaline there.
Okay, so the boys making their way into the Golden Gate Yacht Club here. Enjoying this victory lap up the pontoon. Their fans await them. We've got the prize giving coming up very shortly. So a round of applause. Tom, a fantastic performance. If someone had told you at the beginning of training that you'd be walking up here victorious, what would you have said to them?
I would have said it's a long shot. I think I was saying we're going to come good all week. A week ago we weren't doing well in practice. Yesterday we didn't do great. And I've been saying the whole time, well, we're going to come good, and we left it a bit late, but we came good.
We've been discussing the controlled rage that you've been able to channel, and that was certainly visible in the match race.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan, he pushes so hard, and after that first race when we're coming into the finish and we had this huge crash, and I mean, Kai Hurst, his face had blood all over it, Sam Newton's blood everywhere all over the boat, Kai Hurst might have a cracked rib, and that's Nathan pushing us really hard, and we sort of didn't deal with it well. And then the last race, we said, well, that's not going to happen again. I don't care if he's a metre away, we're not backing down. And it was such a close race. That first leg down to the bottom mark was just so tight, and yeah, we got him.
Congratulations, it was a fantastic race, well-deserved victory.
Yeah, thank you. Feels good.
So, Tom Slingsby there, deservedly very, very happy about that, but revealing quite a physical race by the sounds of it.
Well, it sounds like there's a bit of carryover from the finish of the race before, where you know, Nathan and the Japanese left him right before the finish there, and sounds like they weren't totally ready for that, and you know, caused a bit of drama on board their boat. You knew coming into the bottom there with the boats locked in together like that when they got to the mark, the Australians had to go wide to give him room in there. But as soon as they're past the mark, they're back in control. And it wasn't a matter of if he was going to go at him aggressively, it was a matter of when. And they went early and they went hard.
Yeah, it was a dramatic race, but the story isn't all about Tom Slingsby. Shirley Robertson managed to speak to Nathan Outridge earlier on.
And the team, just talk to us a little bit about what it was like sailing in that final race without any electronics. How difficult was that?
Yes, very disappointing weekend finish. The wing display software, so all the information for the start, all the information for the boundaries, all our boat speed, all our angles, completely gone. So we were sailing blind. You know, it felt very hard done by, to be honest, but we've got a good team. We worked hard, and we'll be back stronger, that's for sure.
So dominant all week in practice and yesterday. You know, how difficult is this moment? How disappointing is it for you and the boys?
Well, all I can say is it's a massive improvement from Sydney. You know, I think we showed what we're capable of. Today we had damage to the wing which stopped us sailing right up until the beginning of the first race. Then we couldn't get the board off the lock in the second race. The last race we didn't have any software. So I'm not making excuses, but it was definitely tough for us. Everyone's very disappointed right now, but I think we can be proud of what we've done to this moment. And you know, the feeling on board right now is we lost this event. We're better than that, and we'll be better in New York.
Well, Nathan, thanks for your time. It's been a pleasure watching. Thank you.
Okay, a lot of people won't understand just how much of a difference the technology on these boats makes. But can you illustrate for us, how hard would it have been for Nathan to fly that boat blind the way he did in the match race?
I mean, there's two things there. One is the not having any information on the time and distance to the start. He's got to rely 100% on his judgment and nothing on the data they're so used to having. And then just around the track, not knowing his rudder angles, not knowing what his ride height was exactly at, that's extremely difficult. I don't think anyone else in the world could have done that.
Okay, so all credit to Nathan Outridge for a fantastic performance in the match race, but the victory belongs to Australia. This team have worked so hard over the last 10 days. In the face of adversity and some, quite frankly, very frightening sailing, a very near capsize for the Australian team in training, and yet here they stand on the podium, being presented the medals by the actor Connie Nielsen. She starred in Gladiator as Caesar's daughter, probably one of her more famous roles, the Oscar-winning film. And the whole crew there, Jason Waterhouse, Kai Hurst, Tom Slingsby in the centre, Sam Newton and Carl Langford. A fantastic performance from the Australians. They fought long and hard for this, and it is 2 wins from 2 in the inaugural SailGP Championship. Now it is time for the Australian national anthem. So the Australians enjoying the applause here, and very deservedly so. Charlie, a fantastic performance for them, and 2 wins from 2. It shows the grit and determination that Tom Slingsby is harnessing.
I mean, in Sydney, they clearly were the best team in the light wind, tricky sailing. Here, they kind of have to feel like they stole one on them.
Pickpocketed Nathan Outridge. You can see that the smell of victory is always denoted by the smell of stale champagne. Crowds cheering them on. I think one of the things that we've got to discuss, though, as well, amongst the Australian victory here, there's also been incredible progression from some of the other teams, notably USA and GB, who've really stolen a march on the Japanese and Australians.
Yeah, we came into this with, 2 teams that were clearly ahead of the rest and saying who is going to emerge from the pack. For the Americans, for them to come through, at their age and experience level, to systematically building up, they won the first lap of both the last 2 fleet races there. Around the gate, they just figure out have to finish this off.
Okay, we'll prepare now for the 3rd race in June in New York. Thank you for watching.